Hello, everybody. Welcome to Murder and Margaritas. We have a couple of really lovely authors here with us today. Not seeing the covers of their books. Here we go. I'm going to pass it off to them, and they will introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their book, and then they will launch right into their discussion. If you guys want to send in questions during this, we will start around 7:45 going through the questions. So we'll save those for the end. And then after that, I'll do a little bit of a roundup and we'll be done. So I hope everybody is ready for some lovely discussion. I hope everybody has their margaritas ready. Here we go. I'm going to bring them back onto the screen. So first we have Rachel.
Hey.
We have Hank. And now I'm going to take myself off the screen so I don't take away any of the spotlight from the authors.
Hi, Hank.
Hey, this is good. We like to talk to each other, so this is a pretty good opportunity. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine. Whatever fine is, I'm fine.
Yes. I'm fine. Square quotes. Yes. And hi, everybody out there. I'm Rachel Howzell Hall. I'm the author of And Now She's Gone. And I have my margarita and I'm ready to talk to Hank about murder and books and all the rest.
And I'm Hank Phillippi Ryan, the author of The First to Lie, a psychological standalone thriller. And I have, if I said it's straight vodka, would you believe that?
Yes, because I believe everything you write.
Right. Because I am the first to lie. So I have this with clear liquid in a glass that you can.
Cheers.
Thank you. Oh, that's so nice. And so sad too. You know, we should be out on book tour together as we have done in the past, you know, this magical mystery tour kind of thing. But we're lucky to do this. Has the pandemic hurt your writing? Did you have trouble at the beginning?
Well, I had some initial issues because I write full time. I'm a fundraising writer for a major medical center out here in Los Angeles. And on that very first weekend, it was Left Coast Crime, and I was in San Diego. And Left Coast Crime was shut down, and I drove straight from San Diego to Beverly Hills, where I work, Cedars-Sinai, where we learned that we were shutting down, but we're going to be working at home, and I'm going to be writing crisis communications and fundraising materials in our, quest to understand COVID-19 and patient care and all that. So up until this point, I was very proud of separating my writing life, my novel life, from my day job life. And now here they were smashed together on my coffee table in my home. And it was exhausting because it took me away from what I love doing the most, and that's writing novels. And it was, writing fundraising material and reports and all that nonstop until about June. So while I did still write novel stuff, I was exhausted while doing it, and my head was filled with science. But at the same time, I'm blessed that I did have a job, and not only just a job, but a mission-filled job that I was helping in this crisis that, continues. So it was weird. What about you?
Weird is exactly right. And like you, I sort of have a double life. And I found out about this when, we all sort of learned about COVID. I was on book tour and I was in Palm Beach, in the Palm Beach airport. And I remember seeing a woman wearing a mask, and she pulled off the mask, sneezed, and then put the mask back on.
Oh, my sweet Lord.
And I thought, I am going home. I am going home, and I am not going out of my house again. And I remember so clearly, I'm a television reporter. I've been a television reporter for 43 years and still on the air at WHDH-TV in Boston. And I remember writing an email to my news director from the Palm Beach airport saying, I still want to be a reporter, of course, but I'm going to work from home. And I said, I remember saying, I came to work in 9/11. I came to work in anthrax. I came to work in the Boston Marathon bombing. The city was shut down. I said, but I'm staying home and I can work from home. So every day as a reporter, I was doing stories. She said, you have to find out what we do, where we go, how we deal with this, how are we supposed to live, how are we supposed to have our lives now. So that's what I did on the air every day. Sitting right here on Zoom and still getting to do my beloved thriller writing.
Yeah.
So there was this weird, terrifying sort of veneer of disturbing fear over everything. It's just, I kept thinking I should make stew and freeze it.
Yeah.
And there's all this what if. And we live in the world of what if in our fiction. But this is sort of a scariness that neither of us or anyone could ever have predicted. But you know what? I always say it's always safe inside a book. It's always inside a book, whether you're reading it or whether you're writing it. So tell us a little bit about your fabulous book, which I have right here. And now it's
gone. Yes. So, and now she's gone. I love this book. I really do. It's like all the things that I've learned while writing are now in this book. It's like, just throw it all in. But for those of you who don't know what it's about Grayson Sykes, who is a new private investigator who finally gets her real first case. She had a case before, and that was to find a missing Chihuahua named Cheeto. But this time she's looking for a human. And her client is Dr. Ian O'Donnell, a beautiful golden god of a man who saves lives, literally, who is also a jerk, because doctors get to be. And he's looking for his ex-girlfriend, Isabel Lincoln. It's a little more than that, because Isabel actually stole his dog, his beloved Labradoodle, Kenny G. So, initially the case is find the girlfriend and the dog and get proof of life. And it seems so simple until the missing woman asks Gray through a text message, please let me be missing. So there's something going on with Isabel and Ian's relationship, and Gray is not happy with that. If there's any whisper of domestic abuse, she doesn't want to be involved, but she's not sure. So while she's trying to solve that case, she's also trying to figure out what her present life and her past life will affect her future life. So she has secrets, and both of our books talk about secrets. And, she's trying to figure out who she is while trying to figure out who Isabel Lincoln is. So it's a cat and mouse game, and it's about identity. It's about fear in women's bodies and domestic abuse and running. So all that, all in it.
It's such a Rachel book, though. It's so multi-layered and so full of, you're so funny and so wry, and your writing is so musical, I guess you would say. It has a rhythm, and then the rhythm changes and turns, and you turn the page of the score, and suddenly it's darker. And you do such a good job with that. Yeah, our books are about secrets. Yeah. And my book is The First to Lie. Also, it's so funny because it's also about doctors, which is sort of interesting in a different kind of way. This is a psychological suspense standalone. And one of the problems with writing and talking about a psychological suspense standalone is that you can't talk about the book. You just can't. What's it about? Well, I can't tell you. Who's the main character? Well,
y'all, it's good. Sorry. It's good. I said it's good, though, what you write, because that's what you do.
Well, I can't even tell you who the main character is, but what I can tell you, right? I can't tell you this. There was a game on Twitter that said, tell about your book in 4 words. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, I can do that. So I decided betrayal, motherhood, obsession, and revenge. And that's really what the book is about. So then, hilariously on Facebook, because Facebook has to be bigger, tell about your book in 5 things. So I thought, okay, let me try that. And the 5 things are a devastating childhood betrayal, an undercover reporter who's in too deep, a beautiful sailboat on the Chesapeake Bay, a rich and powerful family that owns a big, successful pharmaceutical company, and an ice pick that is not used for ice. So it's a high stakes psychological cat and mouse game where two smart women face off to get revenge for a devastating childhood betrayal. But which character is the cat and which character is the mouse? And that's the essence of the first to lie. And more I cannot say
when it comes to that. You are a queen when it comes to that, because whenever I read your books, I'm constantly holding my breath. I'm like, my shoulders are exhausted because I'm constantly like, what's going to happen? And who is she? And, oh, she's evil. Oh, she's not. Oh, what is this? I like that feeling, that kind of visceral, taking my breath away, the sense of dread and the sense of, I tend to be very judgmental. And so I get up on my high horse with your characters and I do like a lot of that. And then it's like, oh, I've been wagging my finger at the wrong person. And I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
But you do the same thing. I mean, we meet Grayson Sykes, this wannabe PI who's, as you say, has got her first big case, and you peel away the layers of her as the book progresses, which is just so revealing and so wonderful and so subtly done. Do you plan that? Did you know her did you know the essence of Gray before you started and then portray that? Or was she revealed to you as she went? You know, Sue Grafton used to talk about how Kinsey Malone revealed herself in every book. Did Grace do that to you, or did you know her?
It was weird because when I first started, I started the very beginnings of this book after my first book in 2002. So I've always wanted to write a disappearing woman story. And when I was trying to write that, when I was a baby writer, I wanted to make a woman disappear. I love magic tricks. And so there's this Harry Houdini trick called the Flight of Venus. And that's his trick of making a woman disappear. So I was very much, I want to make a woman disappear. I just didn't know how to write it. And so it went nowhere, but it stayed with me. You know, you have stories where it's like, I have this nugget, I don't know how to do it yet, but I'm going to keep it. And so after, writing and failing, and then writing the Lou Norton series, and then they all fall down, it's like, oh, I know how to do a procedural now. So I'm going to fold this woman that I love, which was Gray, and put her inside this kind of PI structure. And so in some ways, I wrote both stories at a different time, and then folded, the flashbacks after the main story. So it took me a moment to, get the structure down, but Gray has always been with me in some way. And, both our stories are like onions where you think, oh, I know what this is about. And then it's like, no, you don't. You think it's this sweet, kind of straightforward story. And then you come up and hit people upside the head with, oh, like I said, I always had my fingers, and it's like, I was wrong. And I love that.
That's what I totally hope for. I mean, it's so interesting. And you know this with the Lou Norton series, is that when you have a series and a series character, you know who she is and what her job is. And then every book about her is an adventure of what she does. But in a standalone, like the first to lie, and like now she's gone, in a standalone, everything is on the table. The power of writing a standalone is so immense because we're dealing with reader expectations. Our readers are smart, and they know going into a book that you and I are going to try to fool them. You and I are going to misdirect them. You and I are going to say, look over here, when really you should be over there. And that's the fun. That's the fun. I remember when I first read, as a kid, Murder on the Orient Express. And I thought, are you kidding me? How did she do that? And so I don't, but the thing is, and I know that Agatha Christie figured things out along the way. And I do not have a plot outline. I know that some people from our publisher are here. Don't tell my editor this. But I have no idea what's going to happen next. Not till I write the next word, not till I write the next line or the next paragraph.
So how do you do it? How do you go back then and then put your red herrings? What is your red herring?
I can tell you this. So I can tell you this very quickly, is that what gets me to the computer every day, which I sit right here and write every day. What gets me to the computer every day is I think, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen next. I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what she's going to do. I wonder what she's going to say. I wonder what she wants. And and the story is revealed to me along the way. So one of my favorite things is to get emails from readers who say, oh my golly, I read the first to lie and I went back and started over to see how you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such a joy.
Yeah.
It's just that there's this thing that happens that I write things and I think, oh, I wonder why I put that. I wonder why that's there. And then in the end, you're like taking all the ingredients that you put in the book at the beginning and then making something out of it at the end. And there's this moment in every book, knock on wood, I'm writing my 13th now, so I'm hoping this happens soon. There's a moment where you think, oh, that's what this is. That's what this is all about. And then this whole big, you could like a cartoon light bulb going off over my head when you realize what the book is about. And there's big faith in the process that this will occur. Just like doing a news story, I'm looking for the story. And in writing a novel, I'm looking for the story. And I have faith in the process that I'll get there. Typing chapter 1, how does that feel to you?
Yeah, for me, it's weird because I write all my stories longhand first. So every first draft is longhand. And so when I actually get to type chapter 1, I'm very excited because I kind of know what the story is, not really, but enough. And so I'm excited about it. So yeah, I still write. Now
you have to tell me about this. Tell us all about this. Why do you write in longhand? What does that do in your brain and mind?
I get to know people better. I love pens and I've always loved writing. I like the feel of a great pen against a notepad. And it allows me, I feel very formal and stiff when I write from computer. I can do it for my work job, my day job, but for novel writing where I don't know anything about these people, it allows me to take my time and write in the margins and cross things out. I don't see the little red squiggly line. I'm not worried about format. It's just me and the page and I pop Post-it notes on it. It allows me to be someone I'm very, I outline. So I'm very, very particular about the story and the bones of it. So this is my one place to just be messy. And so I take it. And, we're both ladies of a certain age. And so, I grew up writing on pads. So I like that. And it just lets me go into Staples and Office Depot and buy pens.
That is, I have so many pencils and pieces of paper.
Yes.
I love pencils. And I do have a notebook like this that has when I sort of take notes on it. And this is the proof that this is proof of why I don't write in longhand, because I could never read it, not in a million years. I could never read what I wrote. But when I'm trying to free my brain, now this is when in a book
process. Share that.
Well, in a book like The First to Lie, when it's all about secrets and lies and motivation and what does someone want and how far will someone go to get that. Of course, there are going to be things like, and then she arrived home and I'm making this up, but just say there's an envelope taped to her door. And then I think, an envelope taped to the door. Wonder what's in that envelope. No idea. So that's when I get out my handy notepad and pencil and I just write down everything that could be in it, everything. Doesn't matter if it's stupid, a recipe, a picture, a blank piece of paper, nothing, a newspaper clipping, somebody's page from a diary, everything. And at some point in that exercise, and I don't care, I don't edit myself at all. It's just like, let's think of everything we can. There'll be the thing. And I'll go, oh, it's that. And that is that release of actual writing, because even my typing is terrible. I've had times where the little word thing comes up and says, there are so many mistakes and spelling errors in your document that Word can no longer correct them.
So give up.
But that's good because I know I'm in the zone. I know I'm in the zone that I'm writing so fast. Do you have those really good writing days?
Yes. And that's usually when I'm not reading anyone that I admire. Because whenever I read, like you or Attica Locke or someone, who's really great at character and place, I feel like a hack. So when those days are behind me and I'm getting to a scene I really love, yes, I'm like, oh, this is good. This is great. I can't wait to come back to it because, I go through. By the time I send it off to the editor, to Kristen, I've gone through it maybe 5 or 6 drafts. Sure. Because it kind of takes me that long to get to know the people, to get to know how they speak. I do the Myers-Briggs personality thing for my major characters. So then, I go back and audit. It's like, well, if she's an introvert, perceptive, whatever, would she say this? No. So I do that for like the major characters. And so it takes me a while. So I have quite the process. I like the third draft, the third or fourth draft, because the first draft is hard. Yeah. Second draft is like, oh, now I need to go back and research everything that I don't know and fill in the blanks that I have, like what's in the envelope. But then the third, fourth draft is like, okay, I know the story, I know the people. Now it's time to make art. Yes. And that's where, art happens for me. What about you?
Once you get the plot, and the moment somebody was saying, it's like when you drop one drop of iodine into a glass of clear water, and it colors the whole thing. And when I get that moment, that thematic, motivational, whatever it is, why someone did what they did, and I think, oh, that's it. Then I'm just glorious. and then, once you get the plot and the motivation and continuity, then you can go through for poetry. Then you can go through for good writing. Then you can, and you can't make that happen either. Sometimes that good writing, if you're lucky, sometimes that good writing just comes out. Now, I know that you're very conscious of contemporary themes. Not that you beat anybody over the head with it, but out of our books are fun, fast-paced. We want you to miss your stop on the subway because you're reading these books. But underneath there is, I want you to look at the world a different way. Don't you feel that in your book?
Yes, definitely. I there was a Twitter post a few days ago about, should writers leave out their politics and all that from their writing? And for me, I don't, because for me, crime fiction is a result of politics. People who don't have, why women stay in bad relationships, why kids are the way they are. It's a beauty. It's a beautiful thing and a curse of crime fiction, at least for some of us, where it's like what we write is about society and about the lesser thans and all the rest of it. So I can't separate. I don't know what that life is. I don't have that privilege to say, no, I'm just going to write about this cupcakery and nothing really happens, but there's a dead body, but there's nothing tied to that dead body. It's just a cat trying to find it. I can't do that. If I write about a cupcakery, then it's going to be about gentrification or, why is this cat from a pet meal? It's not going to just be an isolated thing that really doesn't matter about anything. And that's my question for you. It's like, how, especially your day job, because you're an investigative reporter. You're like undercover and doing all kind of like big.
I'm the person you don't want at your front door. I mean,
right. So how does that inform your writing? Because you go deep with some of this stuff where you think, oh, it's just about a mother and her daughter, or, it's about pharmaceutical companies. And it's like, well, it's about pharma, but it's about the economics of it and what drives people to do the awful things they do.
You're so right. It's about the economics of it, and it's about the morality of it, and it's about the ethics of it, and the decision-making of it, and the calculus of it. If there's a drug that really helps some people, but really harms a few, what do you do about it? Who do you tell about that? And what is the one? And I think the essence of a story about a big about a big theme is talking about one person who's affected by that theme, and that's what you do too. So what if you're the person who the big wigs are saying, well, the calculus of that's not that many people who are harmed, and you're the one. And that's what I do my television stories about, the one, the one who might be you. I mean, this book, The First to Lie, came out of, I've wired myself with hidden cameras and up politicians, chased down criminals, gone undercover and in disguise. And that's what this book stemmed from years ago. Just like you say, the nugget of the disappearing woman. Mm-hmm. I always wanted to do an undercover story, and I wasn't quite sure how to do that and make it fair. Yeah. But this, I did an undercover story where my producer Chris and I posed as a husband and wife who wanted to get pregnant, and I had my hair up in a messy bun and big glasses and no makeup. You would not recognize.
I cannot even.
Don't even think about it. I had 3 sweatshirts and a work shirt over that, and instead of a button in the buttonhole of my work shirt was the camera lens. And then snaking down, little tiny button cam, we call them, and snaking down behind that lens through my 3 sweatshirts and out the back was into a fanny pack, very glowing, where my camera was, where my hidden camera was. And really long story short, we proved that this doctor was absolutely lying to us about his history. And as a result of this story, the laws changed in Massachusetts to require doctors to have their histories public, in a public file that was easy for patients to see. But I started thinking about, so that's good. But so he lied to me, and several other doctors lied to me. And they lied for a bad reason. They lied to get me and my fake husband to have us go to them and pay them to be our doctor. Wow. But I lied to him too, and that's the point. I did not say, I'm Hank Phillippi Ryan from Channel 7. I said, we're trying to have a baby, and I'm just trusting you. And he lied, and I lied. But I lied. I lied on one side and down the other for a good reason.
For a good reason.
That's what the book is about. But
how, like I said, when I'm reading your stories, there's this sense of I get breathless. And when you're doing undercover things, are you tapping into that? Because you don't do this like you do it professionally, but this is not your everyday. And I'm sure you're anxious when you're doing this because you can be busted, and someone could say, "What is that thing right there?" I mean,
this has happened. And by anxious, do you mean terrified? By anxious, you mean terrified?
Yeah.
Because, and you know what, for many reasons, several reasons at least, and two biggies. One, I'm not doing anything illegal. In Massachusetts, it's legal to tape someone if they don't know it, not audio, just video. So not doing anything illegal. But on the other hand, that guy, those people aren't going to be so happy to find out that if that was me, that was me undercover taping them, whether it's a doctor's office or a cult church or city hall, other places that I've gone undercover. But the stakes, Rachel, it's the stakes. Someone's life and reputation and career are on the line with this, as is mine.
Yeah, right. It's crazy.
So you can't make a mistake, and that's the tightrope that an undercover reporter makes. Is you cannot make a mistake. Not to mention that you could also be really harmed in some way. Very, very, very high stakes. But this is what, this is talking about Gray in your book. She takes risks and she does things and she is hiding and has secrets. How do you balance all that?
Well, because, and we're both like this, but when I create characters, and especially Gray, I wanted her to be an every woman, and every woman out there has been scared sometime in her life, either in her place of work or in her home, on a date. We've all felt that sense of fear and mistrust with the person that we're with. And I wanted Gray to always kind of be a little off balance, even from simple things. In the very beginning, she doesn't, her pen stops working. Yeah. Her phone dies. She has chocolate on her shirt. And how many of us have gone to a job interview or something and spilled coffee right before we're supposed to be somewhere? And even, or like I have a zit right here. And my daughter's like, you can't see it. But, it's like, can you see this imperfection? And even if no one sees it, it's still here. And so you're not your best because you're thinking that you're lesser than in some way, or that someone's judging you. And so I wanted Gray to, live in that place where women especially are kind of off balance, either through fear or through insecurity. And for her,
or through trying to keep a secret.
Yeah, she has a big secret, and here she is trying to, find someone else's big secret for a paycheck. So she's kind of conflicted, and we're all conflicted. I mean,
I loved that. I mean, the scenes with not having a pen. I actually have nightmares about it because being a reporter and not having a pen. That's a bad thing. But the thing that you do, one of the many things that you do that's so cool, is that it's not just that she can't find a pen and that her pen runs out in the middle of a big interview, but it's also that means very logically that she can't take notes as well as she might. And so she's trying to reconstruct something by pretending she knows when she really kind of doesn't exactly know.
And who hasn't done that?
Exactly. The other thing about our characters is that everybody is someone else. Everybody is trying to be someone else. What if being someone else could get you what you want? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, again, relying on just regular things. Before our interview, I had on a sweatshirt and my face was bare and, glasses, all the rest of it. And then I as I was saying, when I first started this event, it's like, oh, now it's time to become an author. Mm-hmm. And we all have this kind of duality, these people that we bring out when it's time for them to come out. And for someone like Gray and even Isabel, they have these personas that have protected them, that have allowed them, one more day above ground. And especially for Gray, trying to figure out which persona of Isabel Lincoln, which Isabel Lincoln is she looking for? Which version is she looking for? But at the same time, which version of herself is she portraying to different sets of people? I mean, especially for women, and I know as a reporter, you've dealt with this in some way, women who have dealt with violence in their homes not everyone knows that they're dealing with, violence in their homes. They come to work, they go to school, they have these, lives that people would never think, oh, something's going on with her. Oh, what's that little puffy thing right there? We don't think that. I mean, all around us right now and in the houses across the street, there's a lot of weird drama things going on and we have no clue. So I wanted that in this book, that we have different versions of ourselves for, each type of person that we meet. And, I like that your book does the same. All of your books have done the same.
Because when you think about, ooh, Hank went undercover, or ooh, Rachel's detective, this and that, I think, come on, you go.
I can see you in a ponytail. You've never shown me yourself in a ponytail, but there's a Hank that wears 3 sweatshirts and like, you probably didn't have on heels that day. I've never seen you not in heels. It's like, that's a different Hank that.
But, and also, it's also, all of us do this though, as you're saying, I would speak differently to you than I would to a stranger, than I would to my boss, than I would to my husband. I'd be the other person. I'd be someone else. I'd be who I need to be for whatever appropriate occasion it is. So we're all good at that. We're all good at acting. And that's what I do writing as well, with different points of view.
Mm-hmm.
I come, if I'm writing from Nora, the beautiful pharmaceutical executive's point of view, I'm sure my posture is even different. If I'm writing from Brooke's point of view, the 15-year-old girl in Baltimore, I'm going to be kind of 15.
Yeah.
So that sort of comes through. I mean, in the voice and in the speech patterns and in the desire and in the level of knowledge that a person has to know what they could do and should do and shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, I listened to I was at an event. Remember when we could go to events?
I remember that time.
I remember an event at Harvard that I went to.
Pour some out for early 2020.
I was at an event at Harvard with Stephen King talking with Lee Child, if you can imagine. So it was like looking up on Mount Olympus.
Yeah.
They've each said separately and without planning, without having talked to each other before, that some days on their good writing days, that it really felt as if their character was channeling through them and just coming out their fingers, that they were not even thinking or writing at all.
Wow.
And those are the days you can't make them happen.
Yeah.
But when they do, that's one of the fuels of writing, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you have many days like that? Where
just enough. Or sometimes when I'm writing my 13th book now, but it happened with the 12th book, The First to Lie.
Yeah.
I almost held it up, but I don't need to. There's a moment when on a third, as you were talking about, a third revision, when you think, oh, that's what this is. That's what this was for. Not just in a tiny plot twist, but in a big picture, mega meta thing.
Yeah.
That it's the plot and it's the theme and it's the motivation and it's the book. And so when you get to that point that it's the book, when that happens. I know when somebody has asked me once, how do I know when I'm finished with the book?
Yeah.
And I know I'm finished when on a round of revision, I forget that I wrote the book and I'm just reading it. Okay. I guess I'm done. Rachel, am I seeing color-coded bookshelves?
That was for the tea with the authors from this summer for Instagram. And my books, that was just play. My books after that, that's how that is real life.
That looks like my book. I'm sorry, I'm just snooping in your room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's a whole other bookcases over there that are just as messy. 13th book. What are there any things that scare you about writing stories still? Are you mostly still kind of confident when you're starting a new story?
If I can tell you this, because it's just us.
Okay, it's just us.
I have never been confident, ever. There's not a moment of sitting at the desk, book one. Well, you know what? Yes, there has. That's wrong. There was a moment of being confident, and that was typing chapter 1 of the very first book I ever wrote when I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm like, where can this be? This is going to be a snap. I'm a natural. I've been writing television stories for 30 years. Exactly. That's exactly how I looked. And my first novel was 723 pages long, the first draft, and I had to cut 400 pages. I'm like, oh, I'm funny, oh, I'm clever, oh, I'm a good writer. It's so, and that turned out to be actually Prime Time, which won the Agatha for best novel. But the process of that was this big learning curve. Now that I kind of know what's good, now I'm terrified every day. Now my books have to be better. You don't want ever someone to say, oh, she used to be good.
Yes.
Be better and smarter, clever, more compelling, and more of a page turner. So I think writing novels has in some ways gotten much, much harder. How do you feel about that?
I feel the same way. I mean, fortunately for us, there's enough crime and, stupidness going around that we will have material for days. But how to tell those stories without, telling it the same way over and over again, that's the rub for me. It's like, I don't ever want to be a one-trick pony where readers are like, oh, in a Rachel Howzell Hall story, this happens, read it, done it. I don't want to do that. But then I'm scared that one day I'll forget how to do it in the first place. I mean, writing that
You forget, every time I start a book, I think, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah. How did I do it the last
How
time?
did I do this before? I don't have any idea.
Yeah.
That's what brings us together as writers a little bit, is that this sort of shared terror in the page, which, but that at some point, I keep a writing diary. One of the little tricks, and Sue Grafton taught me it of all things. You just, on every day, you just write 3 sentences about how you feel. And what you think. And when I look back at those, every single one of them begins day 1, Monday, I have no idea. You're right. And because of that, when I feel that again, I think, well, this is the diary for Trust Me. And that turned out fine. This is the diary for the Murder List. That turned out fine. So this will turn out fine again. So I've kind of learned to embrace the panic.
Yeah.
After the panic comes the answer.
Yeah. Now, sometimes I will read, or someone will send me a passage that they like of what I've written. And I'm like, okay, that worked out well. That was pretty good. Okay, so maybe, I can do this again. I'm always excited. I never not want to stop. I don't ever want to stop writing because I love it. I absolutely love it. But that's different from knowing how to write it. I'll always have fire for writing, but knowing how to write the story, that's what gets me sometimes. And
but you write standalones and series. What do you think about? What do you think about? And I have too. So tell me what you think about the difference in those are and how that feels.
That known universe that you create for series, even though, for Lou Norton, I kept expanding her universe with different ways of people dying. But I still know Lou. And for the most part, I know how she's going to respond. With a standalone, it's a whole new ballgame with more people that you don't know. Like, I have no idea who these people are. And it takes time to get to know them. But it's that one shot that you mentioned earlier. You don't have the luxury of 4 books, 5 books, 7 books to say, oh, she's this and she's this and she's that over there. It's like, no, she's this right here. I like it. Getting to start over and over again because, and Now She's Gone could have worked as a Lou book, domestic abuse, Lou investigates and that kind of thing. But she's so worldly and she's so knowledgeable and good at her job that it would ring different. I wanted, this newbie who is trying to figure her own self out, trying to figure someone else out. And that was freeing in some way.
It's interesting because in a series story, you do have that grounding of setting and character. But so what you don't have in a series, and what is difficult and challenging in a series, is the tension of the book can't come from the mortality of the main character, because Lou isn't going to die.
You're not going to die. Right.
You have to figure out a way. I mean, Jane Ryland isn't going to die because she's got to come back for book 6. So, and that, readers know that. So the job of the author is to come up with some way to keep you turning the pages, even knowing that the main character is not going to die. But in a book like And Now She's Gone or in The First to Lie, anybody could die. Anybody can be lying, anybody can be good, anybody can be bad. In a standalone, it is all on the table. This is your time. This is the most important thing that's ever happened in these people's lives. Readers are going to see it, and that's why you're here, and then that's the end of that. And that power of the standalone is kind of great because it also lets us play with readers' expectations. And say, I'm going to pull the rug right out from under you. Watch this.
You won't even know because you think just because she's a main character, it's all going to work out in the end.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Can we take questions, do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, Kimberly is here. I see in the chat. Hi, Kimberly. Your books are fabulous. I own every single one and they are the best. We'll just end it there. I'm sure you can write that to Rachel now. Thank you, Kimberly. So nice to see you.
All right. That was absolutely delightful. Let's keep it going a bit with some questions.
Yes.
All right. So the first question is from Nikki. Do your characters continue to talk to you even after you've completed their novel?
For me, I would say yes, because I see Gray everywhere. I see her in As I think about women I used to know who have gone through this, women I know now who are, especially during a pandemic, are in a house with a man who is not the best. So I think about her and where she is, and I want her to be happy, So yeah, she's a part of my life, of my heroines.
And I got to say, Nikki, and Nikki had said, longhand is so good, is good too. So good. That's great. Thank you, Nikki. See, a vote for longhand.
Hi, Nikki.
I've got to say that my characters do not talk to me after I finish the novel. I mean, do I even miss them? No. Do I go back and think I wish I had done X, Y, and Z in the book? No, because this is what happened. This is what happened. I could have written the book another way, and that would have been what happened. But I love, I love the first to lie, as you were saying that you love, and now she's gone. That is how that book is supposed to be. And so I embrace the characters when I'm with them. Mm-hmm. I love them and I listen to them. That's what I do is I really listen to them.
Yeah.
But then, I sort of close that book and I at the end of every book, and I have to admit this, when I send in the final copy edited thing and the book is done, then I always burst into tears. Because, that is a big thing that just happened.
Yeah.
That's a life-changing moment.
Yeah.
I say goodbye and then, I just go on to the next challenge.
Yeah. They're not like, for me, in some ways, they're all in the living room of my mind, just kind of hanging out. It's a weird thing. Even Miriam, even though her ending was not, that way, they're still kind of like in the green room of my life.
That's so nice, Rachel. I love it. Did you ever see the movie The Man Who Invented Christmas? Do you know? You know the movie? I'm looking at the comments here, like I'm listening to you. There's a movie called The Man Who Invented Christmas, which is about Charles Dickens writing a Christmas Carol. It is such a writer movie that I cannot begin to tell you, and this won't hurt it at all, but when he thinks of his characters, he's trying to name a character and goes Scrooge, then he goes Scrooge, and then Scrooge just appears. Scrooge appears in the room with him and says, I wondered when you were going to find me. And then the housekeeper knocks on the door and opens the door and Scrooge vanishes. And Dickens goes, I had this. And author hasn't, I listen to my husband walk down the hall and think, I love you, but don't come in here. Don't. So I highly recommend The Man Who Invented Christmas.
I will check that out.
Yeah, dude.
All right. So the next question is from Kimberly. If you could have coffee with one of your characters, who would you choose?
Oh, coffee with one of your characters. You go, Rachel.
I would say Lou. I absolutely love Lou Norton because she is smart and professional, but then she has that girlfriend side, so she can give like everything to you. She has, the weird relationship thing with her ex. But, I wrote her like she went to college with me. She is my sorority sister. And so I would love to hang out with Lou. I absolutely love her. Gray would frustrate me because I want Gray to like snap out of it and to do the thing that she knows she's supposed to do. And that would just drive me crazy. So, but Lou's, good enough, but she has little nicks that I can tolerate.
I'd love to have coffee with Lou too. Can I?
Bring Jim.
My characters, it's interesting because I'd love to hang out with Ashley Bryant in Trust Me, because here is a person who's so self-centered and so manipulative and so smart that I just kind of like to have coffee with her once to see how that her brain works.
Ah.
The person that I'd like to have as a friend is Charlotte McNally in prime time, FaceTime, airtime, drive time. She's hilarious. She's witty. She's funny. She's doesn't put up with anything from people, and she's a little bit vulnerable, but she's smart and well.
Like
so probably
nice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Next question is another one from Nikki. Is there a topic or a theme that you're hesitant to write about?
Say that again. You broke up for me.
Is there a topic or theme you are hesitant to write about?
Oh, hesitant? I'm not hesitant. I just don't know how to write it yet. I want to write. I am fascinated by cults, and I've read every Jim Jones, nonfiction story out there, and it's fascinating to me. I just don't know how to write it yet, so I'm not going to try it until I know how to do it, because I tend to write about all serious things, but when there's religion involved, you have to be very careful. So I'm hesitant, but I will get to that story.
We should talk after, because you were talking earlier about that somebody could tap you on the shoulder and say, "What's in your bag?" And that happened to me. That did happen to me when I was undercover in a cult church. So that was not a fun moment. So I'll be glad to give you that whole plot if you want. That could work. Actually, undercover in a cult church. That could work, because then the person doesn't have to be an adherent to the cult. They're still an observer, and they can make assessments of it without having, but it's their own personal. We're just talking about the books now. You can just So, is there anything that I wouldn't like to write about? I kind of can't imagine. We should write it together, says Nikki. There. And as Nikki was applauding for the Charles Dickens movie, I hope so. I'm not, anything that has to do with pedophilia. Why? I think, I don't put graphic violence in my books. I don't put graphic sex in my books. I don't really even put inappropriate language in my books. I just, they say write the kind of book you love to read over and over. And so I don't like books about child molestation or pedophilia or why, it's interesting. There's Bradley Harper, who's a wonderful author, has a character in one of his books say to Sherlock Holmes, a fictional Sherlock Holmes, why do you write about crime when there's so many bad things going on in the world? Why do you write about more crime and more murder? And his character says, his Sherlock Holmes character says, I don't write about crime. I write about justice. And that just so struck me, because that's what I do too. That's what you do too, Rachel. There are crimes, but what it's really about is the good guys winning and the bad guys get what's coming to them. And in the end, there is some justice. It isn't perfect justice, and that's what makes it even better. It's sort of realistic, whatever justice actually means.
Right.
That's what's fascinating to me more than violence.
Right, because even with justice, people are still broken. Yes, you caught the criminal, but I can't sleep at night now. Every time I, hear a dog bark, I'm thinking someone's in our yard. Yes, the crime may have been solved, but my emotional life, my psychological life is a mess. So, that's what we write about. It's like, yes, we're going to get the guy, get the bad person, but there's still all this to deal with. And that is fascinating.
Yeah. There's still the damage. There's still the process that we took to get to that. And also, kind of like in OJ or in Casey Anthony, we don't know what happened. We can't ever really know what happened. So what does justice mean in a situation like that? Right. So that's fascinating to me.
Yep.
Ooh, that's a good question. You talked about that, mentioning Casey Anthony. Would you ever write a mystery thriller book where it wasn't exactly solved? Like it was left, kind of iffy, kind of in the air?
Well, I don't want to say too much about any particular book, but very fast things, because I know we're running out of time. One of my books, and I'll send it to you, came out of my experience and having been had a contract to write the true crime story of Casey Anthony. So I covered the trial. The book was supposed to be finished on the day she was sentenced to life in prison. So, of course, she was found not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was no book. And I thought, I'm the wife of a criminal defense attorney, and I can make a case for anybody being found not guilty. I can argue anybody, but not Casey Anthony, because if she didn't kill her daughter, who did? But we will never know. We will never know, because the only person who knows is Casey Anthony. She's not going to ever tell us, just like OJ.
But the book you wrote last year, it kind of like attacks that. So, yes.
Yeah. But in answer to your question, your very good question, I will never, I can say, write a book where the story is not satisfyingly wrapped up in the end. So there is a solution of some kind that is satisfying, so that the reader says, wow, what a good book.
Yeah.
I love that ending. That's what I'm going for, is that big finish. So I think there can be some question about something, but not about the big question of the book. I think that has to be resolved.
Yeah. I agree. Like the ending for Now She's Gone, I solve it, but then there's still, space for interpretation on something else. So yeah, it's not, 100% buttoned up, but it is buttoned up.
Because life isn't buttoned up like that. Life is a continuum that goes on. It has dominoes. It has ramifications.
Life is a highway.
Oh, now we're going to sing. Rachel's had too much.
Now it's suddenly karaoke.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. This was so wonderful. It's so fun for to wrap up a Thursday night. I just have a few points. Jamie wanted me to remind you guys, the audience and everything, that we have an event with Grisham and Louise Penny on the 15th at 12 p.m. It's going to be a lovely lunch event. So whether you're working or whatever, it's going to be fun. You can find more information about that on our website. And then we have another Murder and Margaritas with Stuart Turton, who is he's the author of 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, but he's going to be talking with us about his new book, The Devil in the Dark Water, which is a historical murder mystery on a boat.
Ooh.
Which is really fun. And that's November 6th, so next month. So this was absolutely delightful. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you.
We should remind people that you do have our books.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, absolutely. We have their books at the store. And either we already have them at the store, or they are on the way and almost there. We have signed book plates from them. And if you guys want a personalized book plate or something, you can email the store and Jamie will get all of that handled and everything. So thank you guys so much.
If you want Rachel or me to sign a book to you, we can figure that out. So just contact the bookstore. We will make that happen. If you want it signed to you, Caitlin or Kimberly or Nikki or anybody who's here, we'll be delighted to do that.
Thank you so much for coming out and spending Thursday with us.
We loved it. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to end us now. Thank you guys again. Have a lovely night, y'all.